Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Insider Insights. I'm going to give it about a minute before we get started today to let people get into the webinar. Uh, Karin, have you had any fun summer plans this summer?
Yes, actually, I usually every summer I spend over in Europe. So I'm born and raised in Sweden, and I'm lucky
Oh,
enough that my man works over there, so I get to go to Sweden and different locations in Europe. So
oh, that is amazing. Is it
yeah.
nice weather over there during the
Oh my
summer?
gosh, this summer was crazy. It was way too hot, honestly.
Oh,
It's like,
really?
yeah, it was like a heat stroke. We had up to 110 degrees. I don't know. I mean, maybe in Montana it won't be that hot, but people from Arizona and stuff knows how that is. It was not fun.
Oh,
Not
wow.
fun. Yeah, it was too hot. Too hot.
Oh gosh. Well, I'm
Yeah.
originally from Houston, so I
Oh,
totally
then you know.
understand
You know.
the heat and the humidity and
Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
can get really miserable to go outside sometimes in Houston.
Yes. That's actually what it was. It's like, whew, look for AC. And then in Europe, not a lot of places have AC. It's like
Right, right.
the goodness of US or
Oh
however you want to
goodness.
see it. But yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and get things started. So again, everybody, welcome to today's Insider Insights. Build a brand identity that sets you apart. We're very excited today to welcome Karin Haggard, founder and creative director of K.Haggard Design. In today's session, we are all about creating an authentic brand that reflects who you are and resources with the clients you want to serve. And Karin will be sharing practical strategies for defining your brand identity, refining your message, and standing out in the AI-driven world. So we hope you enjoy this session and leave with practical ideas that you can apply to your firm. As a reminder, the Q&A tab is located at the bottom of your screen. You can drop your questions there, and you can also upvote questions as appropriate. We will be doing the Q&A at the end of the presentation, so be sure to drop your questions in the Q&A tab. We also have some upcoming events, so I will be dropping in registration links in the chat. We would love if you would join some of our other virtual events that are happening. And San Diego, California, XYPN Live 2026, here we come. So be sure to grab your pass because we'd love to see you there. We will also be sharing more links throughout the webinar. All referenced resources will be available when we share the recording via email, so just keep your eye on your inbox. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to Karin to get us started.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. I love XYPN. You guys are just freaking magical. So super excited to be here. So um, a little over 20 years ago, I was thrown 30 yards off a motorcycle. I had no helmet, no leather gear, and obviously no common sense. I broke and shattered basically everything on my right side. I had at the time just come over from Sweden to because I got a golf scholarship. So I was an athlete. So when the doctors told me that you will not be walking again, you will not do vigorous sports again, then I remember just looking at him and going, okay. But in my mind, I was so certain of what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to play golf. I truly, oh, let's see if my actually clicking thing is working. Yes, there it is. Um, I believe that it's all attitude. So you always have a choice. You can look for the joy or possibilities, or you can look for reasons things won't work. So in this case, I, of course, looked for the joy and the possibility. Like my mind was just set on what I wanted to do. So I got back to playing golf and I got back to playing probably actually even at a better level what I had before. Although everything shifted dramatically, I have to say. My perspective on life changed. Different things became important to me, And I just felt like I wanted to make a bigger impact. I wanted to give back what had been given to me. So I found my happy place in design and business strategy, as I love to connect with people and understand human behavior and how it can actually transform businesses. It's like, honestly, it's like this job is made for me. So today I still embrace the same philosophy of you can either look for the joy in things or you can look for things that are not working for you. And in my opinion, it doesn't matter what people say or if technology challenge you, which is what we will talk about a little bit more today. But when you get offered a second chance, or maybe you have, I don't know. The truth is life is too short. It's too precious, and you just have to live the dream that you want or the life that you want. So for me, that has always been to put together things that matters to me. So design, human behavior, connecting with people, and I just landed in this heavenly spot where I get to help business grow through communication, messaging, and visuals. So I hate, honestly, that's a strong word, but I really, really cannot stand watching people that are really talented not knowing how to communicate and present themselves so they also can grow and expand their business. And today, more than ever, it is so important to be able to stand out. And this might look like an odd slide, but a little while ago, I just caught this interview that I thought was so perfect for this presentation because it points out what I want to get across today. And it was a young inventor that walked up to a shark investor. Her name is Jane Liu. She is the founder of Shapo, and it's a fashion brand. So, but has done extremely well. Obviously, she's on Shark Tank and Shark Tank Australia, I believe. So he walks up with this little cutting board that has it folds open. He has these really interesting tools, and he's explaining that what it does and that he's put everything into this board. And what do I do now? Like, what's the next step? And she's asking, okay, so where are you selling it? Well, he's selling it on Amazon. And uh, this is where she points out if you sell them on Amazon, you're going to be competing with pricing. You are not going to be standing out. If you want to actually make something happen, you need to be Yeti, so the drinking cups, which I hope you know what they are. You need to be the Yeti of cutting boards. You need to find a way to stand out. You need to create an experience that people want to be a part of. And that is what a brand does. And that's what I want to dive into today. So it's not going to be on cutting boards. It's going to be on the financial advice, obviously, but it's about creating that experience. And today, anybody can get financial advice. That's the truth with AI. But the change here is to actually dive in on what makes you different. And actually, I want to throw in a fun fact too, because I don't know about you, but when I did the research for this presentation, I had to actually look up when did AI come around? Because I feel like we just got bombarded a couple of years ago, but it actually was coined back in the 50s. And why it feels like we're getting bombarded in the last few years because ChatGPT was founded in 22. So that is just a few years ago. And it's radically changed how we live in our lives and doing our work, as you obviously know. But here's the thing. The more AI we get, the more a real human connection we're going to be craving and not less. And to bring it back to the attitude thing and how we can look at things, AI can be scary. I get that. But it is depending on how you look at it. If you're thinking of it to help you to execute things, and get you info, then most likely you're in trouble because that's what everyone will do. However, if you have a proven process or a system, AI is awesome for a multiplier. And if you also have a brand that sets you apart, then you will get the attention. So the advisors thriving right now aren't competing with AI on speed or information. They're competing on something AI will never be able to touch. So I actually, I don't see the chat, but maybe oh, there, I do see the chat. Cool. Because I was going to tell you, drop in the chat if you have used AI. If you drop a yes in the chat, if you used AI this year for anything like copy for your website, bio, brainstorming ideas, if you want to be participating. And I don't know if that actually allows it. Yes, 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 exactly. Um, and when you read it back, you probably thought, okay, that's well written, probably a lot of M dashes that you haven't used before, but it doesn't sound like you. And that's the trick. Let's see if I can move this away. I'll put it over here. Um, that's the trick, that it doesn't sound like you, or that's the trap. And for you who felt that little thing of, it's scary with AI, here's the good news. Facts can get, you can get anywhere now. Knowledge, AI can give you within seconds. What it can't give you is trust, connection, judgment, perspective, nuance, intuition. That your client's daughter is starting college in the fall, that's the information that is just you. That's the human edge. And the question then is whether you know what that is or not. And to know that, you need to own these statements. So, who are you? That's your story, the thing that nobody else has lived, like I told you on the top of the presentation. And what you do, that's the transformation. That's not your task list. And why it matters and what you would be losing if you stay quiet. So, as I mentioned, I told you mine, what I do, and why it matters to me. Either it landed with you or not. That's how this stuff works. And most likely, you probably got a little bit curious on who this person is and does she actually play golf or did she actually play golf? Whatever. So, you would check me out and you would check for my story and see if it aligns. But it's also not just the story, it's the personality, it's the point of views. And to prove to you, it's not just theory. I just had a conversation, I think it was just this past week, actually. And I found myself telling my story, why it matters to me. And it honestly, it gets me lit up and it gets me probably carried away a little bit. Uh, and I know I can transform people's businesses. And that's probably why, because it just feels right for me. And I'm sure it's going to be similar for you when you get handed a spreadsheet or financial life. You right away will go automatically to optimize and look for ways to make their life better. And when it comes to you, when you own it and it's natural, your ideal client can't stand a chance. And in my case, I was actually just on a coffee meeting. I wasn't intending for anything, but the person that I met to, she fully leaned in without even asking anything. She wanted to work with me without knowing my portfolio, knowing any logistics. She just felt like she had been seen because I had aligned with her. I had connected with her, and we connected on how we stand. And brand isn't separate from that. Brand is what makes that happen before we actually even meet. So, as mentioned, story is one of the ways to communicating that have, then you can have the point of view. And as I always say, always add a little personality to that. Letting you know who actually you are and putting that everywhere, even in places nobody actually supposed to see them, gets your attention. And it's not something only I should be doing, it's something that you should be doing. This is the human edge that I was talking about. So, some of the people on this call, perhaps, I think, is doing this beautifully. I actually have a couple of samples coming up, so I don't know if you're on here. But the first one, she owns her way so much, to be honest, that I don't think she cannot not let her personality shine through. And let me show you what that means. Um, this is Flo's FP, who's part of XYPN and maybe on here today. Is her out of office reply that I just got the other day. And I just had to share it because come on. Hello, the Bartel and Molitor family is required to car camp 1 weekend per summer. This weekend is that weekend. I'll be s'more so delicious. That's her out of office reply. How many people workshop out of office replies? I mean, most are fairly boring and probably a little bit plain Jane professional. And here she took one sentence and packed so much personality into it that I don't think any advisor can even get into their about page. Meg is also a client of mine, and I actually remember when we first started to working together, and she felt like she had not been able to express herself, and I don't know. I hope she remembers or agree with that. And I just love how freaking she leans into her personality, and she has this exquisite written talent that works perfectly for a slightly, I don't want to offend anybody, but slightly dry subject. It's just pure goodness. So, I know all of you here are in the same industry, but you should sign up for her email or check out her on LinkedIn. It's a pure treat. And that's how to really own it, finding opportunities to communicate in the most maybe boring ways or places, not boring ways, in the most boring places, to really shine through as the person that you are. And that is how you make connection. Next up, I have an example of Purpose FB. And here's a little bit of a different one. So this is about point of view. So if Flow is about personality just leaking through everywhere she is, this is unmistakably clear who it is that they are for. So the second you land on this website, their page, there's a proverb right at the top. They will tell you plainly, we work with families of faith. That's not vague enough to be safe. Some people land on that page and they feel immediately, yes, this is my person. And some will feel within 2 seconds, this is not for me. Both are wins. That's what a real niche and a clear brand does, or that's what it does. So, story, personality, point of view, that's what AI cannot take from you. And then knowing that and how to say it. So, knowing who you work for, why it matters, and and who you are. Knowing those things and then knowing how to communicate it. That's half the job. The other half is actually showing up like that because people see before they hear a single word that, for instance, I say or that you read on a screen. It takes that quickly. So, for example, you judged me before I said a single word today. You probably see my short hair, and well, you don't see much of my clothes, but or maybe my expression on my face or the lack of, and that's not shallow. That is how humans work. You will probably not probably, this is how it works. So you see the short hair, for example, and then you're probably going to look for a pattern that goes, oh, I worked with somebody that had short hair, she was really fun, and Karin might also be fun. Or that you see that I'm a designer, that, oh, I worked with a designer before and they were so disorganized, I wonder if Karin's going to be disorganized. I'm not. But those are the things that we as human create in our mind within milliseconds because we are looking for patterns to help us make quicker decisions. And there's research to show you this as well. And I have an example here, which I thought was super cool. And it is the white coat study. It was out of Michigan, and they surveyed, I believe, it was 4,000 patients. Over half agreed that a doctor should wear a white coat. And it's not because they changes their skills, but because they're willing to believe what it is they got to say before they say anything. So that's the same doctor, different coat, and different trust. So once you're clear on who you are, what you do, and why it matters, the next question is, does how you show up actually match that? And I don't mean picking a color, like calling it your brand. I mean, you actually showing what you actually stand for, and whether people see that when they see your visuals. And that could be things like your imagery, your colors, um, your stories, and decisions. And one quick way to check on this is you go to your site and you decide to read nothing on it. You just scroll through and you see, what does it actually tell you? Does it say that? So if you go to your own site, does it really represent who I am? Or does it look like it could be anybody doing financial advice? Or is there something that makes me stand out? And I have a little tool that I'm going to leave with you here at the end of the session that is that will help you figure that out. It's super fun, um, easy one to go through. But these are the questions for today. How does your brand show up today? But we also got to think ahead of time, of course. And finding a brand, not and, because finding a brand is not a one-time project or defining your brand. It's kind of like your financial plans that you create. You don't just set one up and then life is good. You have to go back in and see when things happen in life, and you're going to have to adjust it, and it will change. And the same goes for your brand. It evolves. But like the financial plan, if you have a strong foundation, you're pretty much, you have that set, then you go in and adjust. It's not as much work. So if you've been running your firm for, I don't know, say a handful of years, this might be something that you are looking into. And it's often things that people don't actually talk about. And it's also not that you have your logo, you have your website, and you're set, because brand experience is so much more than that. And you understand from the financial plan metaphor perspective, I'm sure. So most of the time, when your business has changed, your niche probably sharpened, you have grown, you probably got more clear on who you are and how you do things. Maybe you brought on a partner. In that case, and in these cases, the foundation is, and if it's set up properly, you probably just need a refresh. You don't need a rebuild. Rebuild would be if you change who you are, which you probably haven't, what you do, and why it matters. And it can happen. It is a little bit more rare. But this typically could be if you have to fully pivot on something, or perhaps you are teaming up with another advisor and you combining you two firms, and together you taking a different approach. But most often, it's as you grow with your business, it's about refreshing your brand and how you actually show up. And you can do that with one little practical tip to show that you own it. And that is, once a year, sit down and ask yourself, does my website, does my way of showing up still describe the person I want to work with, or align with the person I want to work with, or the client I used to work with? And because you want to do both, does my message sound like me? Or does it sound like how I sounded maybe a few years ago? And that's it. Like one honest look, maybe once a year. And the more you're into it, obviously, the better. But once a year, and you can quickly catch when you're starting to drift off and it becoming a real problem. And I like to uh, combine this when, like at the end of year, you go through your year of how things have been going, you look over your finances, so whatever it might be, add in a little slot for actually looking at your brand. And is it communicate what you want it to communicate? And are you showing up how you want to? Oops. I'm going to have a little water. So, if, for example, you bring on an associate, or if you have another team member joining your firm, then you also have the risk as you're growing that you will start drifting off. Um, and this can often be taken care of really easily by just writing down the words to use, the tone to use, the visuals to use, how a client can actually, should feel. Uh, and this, the more clearer you are on these guidelines, the easier it is for team members to actually uh, really foster and lift up your brand. And this is where a real brand guide is super handy, where you have your mission, your vision, your styles, and all of these things. And that is not something that needs to be complicated. It could be a really small set of guidelines that you have, but just don't put it in your drawer. Actually bring it up and use it. I have another example right now. I'm working with a client that has a specific color, and it has been so diluted. It does not matter which place I go to, it is a different shade of that color. And it might sound like, that's not such a big deal. But if you think of it, like if you have a percentage point that is either growing or a little bit off, it will start adding up and it will start feeling like it is disjointed, not connected, and it's not aligning with who you are and how you want to be presented. So I really highly recommend also having a brand guide that keeps you on track. And this can also be something that might need some updates, but most of the time, the brand guide, those are your foundational pieces, and they typically stand unless, as I said, you are needing to do a big shift. So, where does AI actually fit in to all this? Um, it is a freaking amazing tool. So again, it depends on how you want to look at it, but I believe you should use it. And I know you are using it, and you should use it to help you draft like the first phases of things, your emails, build a faster plan, whatever it might be. But what it cannot do is hand you your story, your judgment, your client relationship, your taste, as I mentioned. That part is what never is going to be automated. So remember what I said earlier. The more AI we get, the more real human connection we are going to be connecting. And here's a paradox that I just thought about the other day too. Again, preparing from this, it just makes you think about a lot of different things. And it used to be that showing up was enough. Like you just show up online and you stand out because people don't do that. But now it's so easy with AI to show up. You have a caption, you have a blog post, you have whatever it might be, pop, and you can be on there. So now that everything is happen instantaneously, counterintuitively, the answer isn't to move faster, I believe. It is actually to slow down enough to make actual connection. The thing that AI can't fake, the thing that can't speed up. So, in reality, speed is now a bit of a commodity, and the deeper connection is not. And I have created two tools for you in the same spirit. So if you are looking, and I'll drop these in the chat here at the end. So if you're looking for how to visually show up, how to actually align with what you stand for, because there are different things they're going to showcase. And this is what, my world is what I think is so fascinating. Like colors, shapes, and all of these textures mean different things subconsciously, just like that white coat means something to you. So what you stand for actually have a visual way to be communicated, to make the connection with your audience. So I've created this little quiz. It's super easy, fun. I'll drop it in the chat here at the end. And if you already know visually where you are, I also created a really cool tool, I think, that if you know who you are, what you do and why it matters, like those things, like you own that, then you should use AI to help you say it. And without losing your voice, because that's the thing, like we were saying earlier, you ask AI for something and they write it beautifully, but it doesn't feel aligned. So I have a AI prompt guide that I think will be super helpful for you. So both of them exist to work for you, not instead of you. So it will help you create your goodness in all the work that you do. So I'll drop them here at the end. Um, so at the end of the day, tools can help you to say it and show it. But the one thing I want you to take away today is sorry, you don't need to be louder. You need to be clearer on what makes you unique. Then lean into it, connect, build the kind of trust AI will never be able to take away from you. There are people out there that are waiting for you, waiting for the version of your work, because there's so many people do the same work that you do, but the version that you can give them because of who you are, your judgment, your taste, your story. So when you know how to communicate and present yourself as brilliantly as you are, because I know you're extremely talented, you stop going unnoticed and you become the one they want to work with. And you too get to choose to build a business, no matter the challenges, and design the life that you actually want. And I see I had lots of more time for you. So bring on the questions if you have any.
Awesome,
If
Karin.
that,
Thanks for
yeah.
that. Yeah, everybody, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop those in the Q&A feature. Karin, I do have one question for you. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, for an advisor who feels like their brand is maybe currently too generic,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think is a practical step that they can take this week to start making it feel more authentic and distinctive to their personal brand?
That is looking at those three questions: who you are, what you offer, and why it matters. Like really sit down, and in this AI prompt tool, you actually have to answer these questions too. So, and I did have a little technical snafu, so I'm going to email that. I mentioned this to Maddie earlier, as I'm going to email the tool to you. I have the brand quiz, I can pop that in for you. But for your question, Maddie, that is really sitting down and taking the time to answer these kind of questions to make you to start defining what makes you different. Look at the stories. I've worked with so many clients that in the financial industry that feel like, oh, my story doesn't really matter, but then that's the thing that is going to connect with your ideal client. Like recently I worked with somebody that early in her life she went through a big financial um, growth, and she worked with a financial advisor that did not um, she just set it and forget it with that person for actually. So she then got so annoyed with it, she became a financial advisor to help people that are in that situation. And this is where you really can connect and align with your client, when you really know their story, you know their problems, and you have a similar background. And it could be anything from being Swedish or having a similar story that your client's going through, or have a fun personality that makes, as I said, a slightly dry topic really freaking fun. But it's really looking inwards to be able to then pursue it outwards.
What is an aspect that advisors can also use to kind of make sure their brand feels authentic without sharing maybe something super personal as well?
Yes, yeah, true. Yeah, because you don't sometimes want to go too deep either. Um, and this is where you're gonna feel like where you gonna draw the line. But I would say point of view. Uh, what like it could be. I have another client that is really outdoorsy, and I remember when we set up his website, his marketing material. I gave him permission. You don't need to wear a blue shirt and a jacket. And I know your crew is not necessarily about that, but back then I remember him going, "I don't." I was like, "No, be like wear your REI gear, be you, and then you will connect more." So it could be something simple like that. And all of a sudden, he just feels so aligned with what it is that he does. He feels comfortable and excited and confident. That's the big thing. Like, I think in Flo's case, also, it's like she's so her that it just becomes a lot of confidence, which then really helps out to grow your business.
That's
I don't know
awesome.
if I answered that question properly for you, but
Yes.
it's really, it doesn't have to be like your most hidden secrets from when you were young. It could be something that just makes you you. Anything from a motorcycle accident to you're from Sweden, you like outdoorsy things. Uh, it could be lighter things too. It's just the things that you feel like represents you.
Yeah, I think it's great to have both, right? You
Hmm.
have some advisors in their firm who might be more comfortable sharing like a super personal story. And then
Yes.
there are some also firms and advisors who may not want to share things that are super personal, but also can have that option to like maybe like explore like this is who I am, but it's not, you don't know so much about me that I'm
No,
comfortable
you
with.
definitely don't need to share all your darkest secrets for sure. It's just really about finding where you feel aligned with yourself. And I don't know, it just feels like you crack open when you start getting really aligned with yourself and finding a way to communicate that then resonates with somebody that feels seen. It's just like a magical spot, although it's not magic.
Yeah. Well, we do have some questions that came up from the audience. One of the
Mhm.
questions are, if you are serving two distinct niches, what are the best practices for reaching them both?
So two distinct. Well, then number one, I would go for one. So I don't know what the thought is, but it could be. Um, yeah, I don't know this specific situation, but if I could, I would focus on one. And what I would do is all your marketing material would go towards the one specific main niche, the one that feels most aligned with you, that makes most financial sense, that you enjoy the most. That's the one that I would focus on. And then I would have the other one in my back pocket. For instance, we work 80% with financial advisors, but I also work with experienced professionals. So I work with lawyers, medical providers, and they come to me anyways because they at one point you're going to start having people letting you know, oh, you should work with Karin, blah blah blah, for example, and that will be the same thing. So then you have that in your back pocket. So I that's what I would do first. I would be really clear on who the number one is, because as soon as you know who the number one is, you're going to know where to go to find them, how to actually communicate so they know that you feel seen. Like in my business, I know everything about compliance, A to B, Part 2A, all of those things. And when you are able to connect like that, you're going to do such a better job versus working on two niches. So I don't know this specific case, and I don't know if she said or he said um, why it makes it having two niches. But
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
hopefully that answers or
Identify, but
makes,
I think that's a great start.
yeah. That's what I would do anyways. Yeah. And or if you actually really, really have to, you can direct them in two different places, maybe on your home page. But again, it's going to make it really difficult, and you're going to dilute your message a whole lot more when you are uh, doing your marketing and sales. And marketing and sales, when you start out, is the number one thing that we have to do.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. Our
Mhm.
next question would be, how would you find a balance between being professional and having people trust you, but not being stale and boring, especially if
Mhm.
you're young and your partners are young? We each have 3 to 5 years of experience and just started a firm.
Yeah. That is a fine line to go. But I think the more you are, the better you're going to connect with your audience. You also can look at the things. So it sounded like you're questioning the fact that you're young, but usually when you have something that you feel is negative, I tend to flip it around. What's the positive of being young? Well, the positive is that you will be able to be a financial planner for a whole lot longer than comparing with somebody that is older, for example. So you can be with your client for a longer period of time. So I would lean into that. So I would typically try to look at what's the opposite of the thing that I think is negative? What would be the positive here and lean into that? So I wouldn't necessarily say being young is a negative thing. That is a lot of great opportunities. If you want to be professional, professional is awesome too. There's just different ways on how you communicate in the best possible way that feels good to you. So if you feel good about wearing a suit and being having more structured communication, that's fantastic. So, because there are people that align with that. When I communicate, I tend to be a little bit more like how I speak, but that's who connects with that. So, I don't necessarily need, I don't necessarily think that you need to be professional unless that is something that feels right to you. And I would not take young as a negative thing. I would lean into it and take it as your opportunity.
That's a really interesting way to look at, that aspect, plus other aspects of, but what ifs of
Hmm.
this into my practice and flipping it, turning it more into a positive, I think is super interesting.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people forget that you can actually do that because we get so snowed in on, oh, I don't have this that this other person have. So we forget to look at the skills and the qualities that we have instead that they don't have.
Right. Yeah,
Hmm.
that is a great way to look at it for sure.
Hmm.
We have another question that came in. Is there a perceived negative about being a solo advisor, and how would you flip that one around?
Hmm. No, the freaking awesome. You're going to have the best quality time with your clients. You're going to know everything about the clients. Remember, I was saying you're going to know your client's kid is going to college. You're going to know everything about it. And I would even go deeper in that. I would, with every client, which I'm sure you already do, but if you're not, I would make extra notes, get extra personal. This is where you really can shine in the AI world. Make the phone call, make the video calls because you are really close to your clients. So that's how I would flip that. Get more personal, even more, because you have the opportunity. If you have more people on the team, then you have more help to do different things, but you're going to have less attention or they're going to know less about you. So there's always a positive and a negative, and it's all attitude, looking at the things that in a joyful, opportunistic way or where you will fall short. So yeah, I would flip it around to it's freaking amazing to get really quality attention from the advisor.
That's wonderful. Great. Well, Karin, thank you so much for today's presentation. This has been super insightful for our audience. And I think, again, it all comes back to the attitude. So I think
Yes.
this has been so wonderful and great for our audience. I
Mhm.
am going to drop a few
Oh,
links
yeah.
to our upcoming events. And as well, if you want to learn more about XYPN, please be sure to
I
Schedule
love
a call.
XYPN.
Yeah, one of our XYPN success strategists, and they'd be happy to tell you more about our membership offerings. And then
Mhm.
Karin is going to provide our team with all of those tools and links to the current.
Yeah, I think it'd be easier just for you to send it versus dropping in here, so you will all
Yes.
get it. Hmm.
Yes, we will be sharing that in the post event email. So be sure to
Hmm.
keep an eye on your inbox for those links to those tools. So
Hmm.
exciting.
Awesome.
Again,
And then
Karin,
obviously, I am sure you put in the link for the XYP Live. I will be there too,
yes.
so I'm looking
Yes,
forward to
Karin
seeing
will
everyone.
be in San Diego with us at XYPN Live. So be sure to grab your pass. We want to see
Yes, come say
her.
hi.
Yes. Awesome. Well, Karin, thank you so much again today. This has been great. And we look forward to seeing you at XYPN Live.
Awesome. I will look forward to seeing you too. Thank you,
Awesome.
Maddie.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.